Welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Jean Armand. The Health Flow Podcast is designed to share healthcare experiences that will educate, empower, and clear up some of healthcare's misconceptions. This is episode 2 of the Health Flow Podcast. And our topic today is on autism. Autism, which is now referred to as the autism spectrum disorder, is a developmental disability. This developmental disability can cause social, communication, and behavioral challenges. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, The Health Flow. Today I have a guest. Her name is Rosita Frimpong. She's actually a family member, my dear cousin, and she's the mother of two wonderful children. Well, three wonderful children. Oh my goodness. Acacia, do not get upset with me. Um, Two wonderful boys, a wonderful daughter. Both her boys have autism. And I just, today, of course, our podcast is about autism. And I just wanted to bring someone real that you can relate to who's experienced this. So without any further ado, here is Vosita Frengpong all the way from Canada.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi. My name is Rosita Frempong. As Jean mentioned, I'm a mom of three. My daughter's 22, and I have two boys that are on the spectrum. Junior, who is 17, and Josiah, who is 11. They're both high functioning, very independent in most ways. Just has a few issues, communication issues when it comes to interacting with people. And I do have a wonderful husband named George. I forgot about him.
Yes, please don't forget George.
No.
Oh, that's good. All right, so just to get the conversation rolling with your first son,
Mhm.
at what point did you notice, and what did you even notice, and how did we even get to the point of diagnosing autism in him?
So with Junior being my second child, I didn't. Junior, I actually had a really long labor with Junior. Junior was a pretty big baby. I was borderline gestational diabetic, and so when I was in labor with Junior, it took a really long time. He actually came out not even breathing at one point, and they resuscitated me. He spent some time in the ice in the IC not ICU, but the
The
baby unit, the
mhm. Neonatal
neonatal. Yes, and
neonatal care. Mhm.
Junior started. He was a little bit slow with a little things, but he was developing normal, crawl late. But then we know most boys are late with walking and crawling, so we didn't take anything of it. Um, then he started walking, saying, the baby talk, baba, dada, the normal stuff. And then all of a sudden one day it just stopped. He would look at you, but he wouldn't really look at you too much when you're talking to him. It's more like he'll look at you when he wants, but if you're engaging in conversation, baby talk or just playing, he didn't necessarily look at you and stuff like that. So at that point, I had a really good pediatrician who has been my pediatrician since I had Acacia up until recent. She just retired. And she did the test, and we went through a couple of agencies. One agency that we went through was Erin Kids, and then another agency we went through was through the hospital, family services through the hospital. And they both did assessment, and it was The first one was like they weren't sure if they thought he was on the spectrum because he did a lot of stuff normal, but then they thought there was some delays in certain stages. So at the age of 2, we said, okay, he's borderline autistic. So we continued to be reassessed every year until eventually they said, yeah, well, he's kind of not meeting the milestones. So at that point, a little bit past the age of 2, they fully diagnosed him with autism.
Okay. Now, how was he progressing in school, like academic wise?
Well, that's the thing. At the time he was in, for most of between 2 and 6, he was in daycare. So while he was in daycare, he wouldn't really talk or interact much with the other kids. He would more sit by himself. But it wasn't saying that he wasn't learning because he would have, like, I don't know if you know the fridge magnets, he would use those to spell out words and spell out things that he wanted. Or he would say he would use video, watch a lot of Disney movies. He was into the TV, wanted to watch movies because at the time we didn't have iPads and internet as much. So he was really into watching a lot of the Disney videos. One of the things that I noticed that he would always do is he would rewind the video. He would watch a little part, rewind it, and he would say it and rewind it on. So I was like, I always wondered why he did that because at that time I didn't really know a lot about autism. I was still learning. And a lady who actually worked with kids that were special needs, she said, I remember asking her one day, and she says that's actually his way of learning something is to keep replaying it. It's a repetitive behavior. He would watch it
Right.
over and over till he got it and it sunk in. So that was
Right.
how he would learn with a lot of things.
It's funny because I just reviewing the signs and symptoms of autism, or just with people on the spectrum, it says that they have problems with social, emotional, and communication skills, and they might repeat certain behaviors, which is exactly what he was doing. And
Right.
another thing, they may not want change in their daily activities. You know, they
So
just want everything to be rigid. Did you find that with Junior?
yes, I did. I remember it was always the same route that I would take from work to daycare and from home to daycare and from daycare to home. A lot of the times we would pass like a McDonald's or something. So I would always buy him like a fry or something. And I remember one time my mom said George had picked them both up from the daycare and George was driving home and he got upset because George wouldn't stop to buy the McDonald's. He got really upset. George was like, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to McDonald's. So that was a change for him. Like every Sunday when we would go to church, I would buy him a chocolate bar to keep him calm in church. And everybody'd be like, why are you buying him a chocolate bar? I'm like, well, he's adapted to the routine. It's my way of keeping him calm. If I didn't give him the chocolate bar, he would get really upset and get
Right,
upset. Like, why are you not giving it to me? This is the routine for us. So that's how
right,
we would deal with the routine part of it,
right.
or
And I
how he
mean,
would
it
act.
was once in a while. It's not like you were feeding him
No, it was
sweet
just like,
McDonald's
you go to
every.
church, black
Right,
church, you want them as quiet as possible, right? So
absolutely. Whatever worked for you.
exactly.
Okay, so now as now we'll just stick to Junior for now.
Hmm.
So as he's progressing through school, how has that been going? He's 17 now, so he's almost, you've taken us from 2 to 6.
Hmm.
What happened when he went to first grade?
So once he started like kindergarten, we were still going through IBI treatment. So IBI is like intense behavior intervention. So this is where they do a lot of repetitive teaching with them, teaching them how to brush their teeth, how to say hello, how to say my name, my address, and the standard things that we would normally learn to get us through the life. If somebody says, where do you live? I live at 6 Fifth Anyway or 40 Estate View. They would teach him that. So he would split school part-time with that, where he'd go to half day to IBI and half day to school. So it was a little bit challenging because it was like dropping and picking him up. I would drop him off, then I would pick him up. I'd drop him off, and then I would pick him up. Till I had to say, we got to find a better process where maybe he goes to school 2 days a week or 3 days and go to IBI full 2 days a week, because it
Right.
started getting a little bit stressful on my schedule. And at that point, I had to make the decision to give up my career and say, hey, I got to stay home. I've got one child in grade school going into high school, and then I have another child who I'm running around. So I didn't really have that time. One of the things with Junior, what helped Junior learn, he loved a lot, a lot of TV game shows. So that was always his thing, and even now it's still his thing. And I remember one day when I heard him first talk. I'll give you two examples, and we thought it was funny when he actually literally put a full sentence together. It was one day he
What
came and
age
he said,
was that? What was the age you heard him first talk?
I think it was about, like, he would say one or two words, but the actual age that he put a full sentence together was maybe between 5 and 6. Was one
Okay.
day he actually said, the first thing he said was one day when we came back from therapy and we had gone back to when he was still in the daycare, which was before 6, before he started grade 1. He actually one day he came in and they said, Junior, what's wrong? And he looked at them, and then he said, I'm hungry. I want food. And they were like, oh my God, Angela, cook Junior some food, because they'd already passed breakfast. So they were going
Right.
getting ready for lunch in a couple hours. So they thought that was amazing that he put a few words together. And then I remember at home, for me personally, when he first said a full words, was one day he came down and he said, Mom, open the case. And he had a case, his Barbie doll case, but he used to love watching Deal or No Deal. So he used the case as Mom, open the case. And I was like, oh my God, he said. And then another day he asked me, Mom, where's the case here? So this is where I knew that we were on the right track with the support and the services that we were getting from everyone around us. And this
Right.
is why I always said I believed in IBI treatments, because I believe in the repetitive teaching instead of trying to medicate them. Because, I mean, Junior is one of those kids on the spectrum that is not a hyperactive kid. So for me, medicating wasn't an option. Like, I don't believe in it. I believe they can learn, and I believe they're normal. And I hate to use the word normal, but I
Right.
don't believe in medicating them. You're suppressing what they want to express by doing that. So for me, that was how that helped him. And even now through school, like, the support that we get is amazing, because he's always been able to have one-on-one support with a TA in the classroom that helps him and guides him. Now he's better where he doesn't necessarily need the one-on-one support, because he's not, again, considered a flight risk or aggressive or anything like that. But I
Right.
believe that every so often he does have, he'll get upset at certain things,
Yeah.
and I've heard over the years that he has had, he'll get upset. I mean, one time they told me he threw a table, but they never told me about it till like months later. And I'm like, why are you not telling me these things? So
Hmm.
Junior is Junior is one of the kids that on the spectrum that are more calm, routine set. Like 9 o'clock is bedtime, no matter what's going on. That's his
Right.
bedtime. Like, he gets up at 6, he takes a shower at 7:30, watches his game show at 7. Like, it's all routine, and that's having an easy child on the spectrum, so to speak.
Right. Right. I just want us to stress for our audience that you do live, what area in Canada? What's the town that you live in?
I do live in Brampton. So we are
Okay.
considered Brampton, Mississauga. Caledon is considered Peel region, and where we are, Peel region is one of the best region in Ontario for support with kids that are on the spectrum. Like, there's people that transfer into our region from like the Toronto region and different regions just to get their kids in the public system school
Right.
program for the kids that are on the spectrum, because it is the best one out there. And I mean,
Yeah.
the spots are limited, so everybody tries to get it.
Right. That's amazing. So really with the proper support, you've really, been
I've
able
lucked out. I've been honestly lucked out.
you've
I've
been
lucked out.
blessed. You've been blessed.
Yes, yes.
So, right now, so tell me, so now there's only two children, at this point, it's Acacia and it's Junior.
Hmm.
So, you're going along with your family and then you're pregnant and now you're having a third child. Now, was there any conversation at any time that, it's a possibility that your son, if you do have a son, could have autism too? What was the discussion, or, what did the doctors have to say to you?
So with so when I got pregnant with Junior, with Josiah, Junior was about 7 turning 8. Now I remember being pregnant wasn't something that was planned,
Okay.
and found out I was pregnant. One of my main worries was that, okay, if it's a boy, he's going to be 4 times more likely to have autism than if it's a girl, because boys are 4 times more likely to have autism than girls.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God. So I remember the day driving from the ultrasound, and they said it was a boy. I called George on the phone and I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God, he's a boy. He's going to have autism. And George is like, if you don't hang up, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to hang up because you're driving. You're driving. Hello. And I was like, oh my God. So I was really freaked out about it. I mean, it stressed me out. And at this point, I am now gestational diabetic. So my sugar levels are high. So I was considered high risk. I had to see the special doctor. I couldn't go to the regular
Right.
gyno. I had to go to the special clinic. Like every week, I had to make sure check my sugar, make sure check everything. Josiah is born, and he's born. He's 2 weeks early. He was 7 pounds. He had jaundice and everything, but he still was overall healthy in most ways. Um,
Right.
so a year goes by, he's developing normal, he's talking up a storm, he's walking normal. I only
Wow.
had to breastfeed him till he was like 9 months. He took himself off the breast, as to where Junior, I breastfed him till he was 2, because I thought, okay, you know what, I want healthy kids. And
Right.
then again, Josiah stopped talking. But because we knew the signs and what to look for, with because we've already gone through it with Junior, I've already started doing my research now. I'm learning more about autism and how everything affects you and stuff like that, or the kids, and we jumped on it. Again, I had the most amazing pediatrician. She was also on top of it. She started doing testing early, and we checked to make sure he was meeting his milestones. So the moment he stopped meeting his milestones, we got on, and then she diagnosed them, and we went through the whole process of having him diagnosed by a team. So usually what they do is, when they diagnose you, it's usually a team. They have a psychiatrist, they have a behavior specialist, a speech specialist. There's like a whole team around you that sits down and assess them to make sure they're all on the same page and they're giving this kid the right diagnosis, because it's a big
Right.
diagnosis to get
Yes.
in. And I've seen people, and I can give examples where a lot of people don't deal with it the right way. And I even years, like even last year, a couple of years ago, my pediatrician, I remember, and I'll go back to this. I don't mean to jump off topic, but I remember when my Junior, who is now diagnosed with Crohn's disease, he got diagnosed 3 years ago. And I remember going into the pediatrician office, and we were talking, and she said, I really commend you for the work you do with the boys being autistic, and now you have this to deal with. And she says, a lot of parents that come in here don't handle it very well, especially
Yeah.
mothers. They feel like they're a failure. And I thought that I was too at one point, because I'm like, I don't drink, like, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't smoke, which was a main
Right.
thing for me. I don't smoke at all. What did I do wrong? And I think a lot of people, that's the first thing as a mom, you
Yes.
say, oh my
Yes.
God, I failed my kid. What did I do wrong? Why my kid is
Turning out this
autistic?
way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I took my
Absolutely.
prenatals, I took my vitamins, I eat healthy and everything.
It
So
all
it was
too.
it was hard to find out now you have not one, but you have two kids on the spectrum. But
Right.
again, we knew the signs and we knew the teachings. Like, one of the things we were really good with Josiah was always prompting him to say things. always making sure we have that eye contact. If we're talking to him, we'll say, look at me, look him in the eye. If you have to turn his head to make sure he's giving you that attention and the eye contact, those were things that really helped with Josiah going through it the second time
Yes.
to deal with it.
So now who's around you at this time? So you're not working, you're a full-time mom, your husband's working. Who else is there in your household to support you with your three children and the fact that two of them are special needs?
I have to say my mom is my biggest supporter and my daughter. Like they live that was the early part of it where I had my mom, even though when I had Josiah, she had not lived with me anymore. But when I did have Junior, she did live with me and she was there to help me with everything. Having Acacia as a big sister, she understood what it means to help take care of her brothers, even though it was a lot of responsibility. I didn't put all the burden on her per se to say, oh, you have to do this, but she knew how to help take care of them. Where,
Yeah.
okay, if
You
mom
don't
needs to go
do
take a shower or something, I can watch the boys and stuff like that. Um,
right.
the thing with having both two kids on the spectrum, they're not the same. You'll never ever find two kids who are the same. Where Junior is very quiet, Josiah is very verbal, very outspoken, very active. We even considered him a flight risk because he's the type of kid that just gets up and go. Super smart when
Wow.
it comes to the electronics and stuff. So things we had to be careful with him was you can't give him your phone because he will lock you out and he'll do stuff. He figures out stuff. So again, now that was a challenge for us having two different kids on the spectrum, even though they both have autism, they're two kids that are not the same.
Right.
So we had to figure that part of it out, how to adjust and make the adjustments with the two kids.
Okay. I just had a thought too, and now I can't remember. I was thinking of both of them. What about, so even now, that's what I was. How have you and George been able to maintain your relationship? Um, because sometimes with the stress of having special needs children, mom is overly, involved with the kids, maybe
Mm-hmm.
about husband. What are some of the things that you all have been doing to keep the sparks? And how many years are you married now?
So before I jump in to me and George, I just want to say again, with autism and having a child on a spectrum, divorce for parents with kids on the spectrum is very high. It's
Yeah.
really, really high. And not a lot of relationships
Survive.
survive having a kids on the spectrum. I don't
Yeah.
know if it becomes a blame game. I mean, even dealing with George when Junior was just diagnosed, it was hard for him to accept. And I remember this was the point where I had to sit him down. I remember when the doctor says Junior's not talking, but he needs to be around other kids. And at the time, we were still a young couple, and me giving up my job. Financially, it wasn't easy, but we
Right.
had to make the sacrifice to put him in the daycare and pay the full price because, again, we didn't qualify for subsidized daycare. So right there, I put another stress on him where he was like, he's fine, he's just not talking, typical Caribbean, African background, we say, oh, they're just tongue tied or they're just not developing on time or whatever. But showing him that he needed to have him interact with kids and it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. Our relationship was tested, but I think for me, prayer was the biggest thing in our relationship. We went
Right.
to church, we prayed about stuff, and we talked. Because even today, I worry like, what's going to happen to my kids? And George would be like, you don't need to worry. Like, you can't worry. Like, your family's around. He has a good relationship with my family. We have
Uh-huh.
a good relationship with his family. So I
The
have to
support
say, if
system is there.
yeah, the support system is there. We have friends that support us. I mean, we try to still do the date nights. We've been married for 18 years,
Wow.
and it's amazing. Mind you, he does get on my nerves a little bit, but I think we've learned to adapt to each style, and we know when to give each other space, and I think that's
Right.
what's important. is if you can give each other space when each other needs it, when the
Right.
other person needs it, then it will work. And at the day, it's all about love and loving your kids. You have to want to be there for your kids and put their needs front and foremost.
Amen. That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah.
That is what it's all about. So tell us now about your youngest.
Hmm.
Where is he? Oh, you know what? Before we go that, I noticed that you talked about Junior, I mean not Junior, but Josiah being great with electronics because
Hmm.
most autistic kids are, they shine in an area or some or a few.
Hmm.
So his is electronics. What's Junior's?
Well, Junior is also electronics as well, but Junior.
Wow.
So give you a joke. We found out that Junior had a YouTube channel. Sorry, we found out that Junior had a YouTube channel and had over 40 YouTube videos he created. So we were shocked. So when we started looking at, it, we're like, Junior
Created
does
on his
not.
own. Wait a second. We can't just like run through that real quick. 40 YouTube
Um,
videos
yeah,
that he created at what age?
since the last year and a half, he's been doing YouTube videos. So he
Wow.
interacts. He's into stuffed toys, stuffed animals. So, for instance, if he gets a new movie, he'll go online. Hi guys, this is Junior, and I got Toy Story 4, and he'll talk about it and does his reviews. Or he takes his Mario characters and because he loved plush animals and stuff, and he
Uh-huh.
creates stories. Like one story he created was the mushroom guy from Mario Toad has a girlfriend. And it's the most funny things because he's having a full conversation in the videos and it's conversation that he doesn't normally have with us. So we're like, are we sure that Junior is making these videos? But we know it's him because it's his voice.
Right. And he's there alone.
Yes, so he locks up in his room. He figured out how to make the videos, edit the videos, all that stuff. And we're
That's
just amazed.
amazing.
All
That's
by himself.
amazing. Do they interact with each other much?
They do at times. I find now Josiah wants to a lot more with Junior, but Junior sometimes doesn't want to because now Josiah wants to be like Junior. He wants to be like his big brother.
That's
He wants to,
the
he,
brother. Yes.
yeah, he's into, oh, Junior's watching NASCAR. He wants to watch NASCAR. Junior's watching this movie. He wants to always be in his room watching stuff. Now, Josiah, he's a little bit more too high functioning with the internet, so we had to block him on a couple sites
Right, of course.
because there's even one site that they banned our whole network because he was on
Oh,
it commented too much and they're like no we're gonna block you so
oh,
it's
wow.
we have to
How old
more
is
watch what he
Josiah now?
does so he's
How
11 he's 11.
is so Junior's 17
Hmm.
and Josiah is 11.
Yes.
Okay. And Junior just recently graduated from high school.
Yes, so he was on. So being in the school system, Josiah Grade in juniors high school, they're on an individual education plan. So
Yes.
their setup for their courses is based on their individual needs. But
Yes.
but he still goes to like science and gym. He goes to all the different classes. They
Hmm.
just work at they give them more time to complete assignments. They have one period where they go back to the main classroom and just get the help from the TAs and stuff like that that they need. And also they do have TAs that go to different classes with them to help them understand if they don't understand something that's being
Right.
taught and work on assignments and stuff like that. But Junior is that kid that everybody loves. Like when we go to school and the teachers see him, everybody's like, hi Junior, hi Junior. I'm like, Junior, who's that? Oh, it's just my friend, or it's just Miss So and so. So he's very popular guy at school.
Right. And he's
Yeah.
tall, dark, and
Handsome.
handsome.
Yes,
I
and has the
love
most
seeing
adorable smile.
yes, and I love
Yes.
seeing his prom pictures on Facebook. Oh my gosh, they
Yeah, that's my
so
Junior.
I'm so proud. I'm
So for
so
next
proud.
year, even
Mm-hmm.
though he's graduated, he'll get to go back to school because here they can go to school till they're 21. But once
Right.
they meet the requirements of the credits, what they do is they tend to put them in like a co op program. So
Yes.
they'll teach them. And this is where it became hard for me when I had to have a conversation in June with the Kaizen's counselor because she's like, now, Junior will take the bus and go to co op. I'm like, no, 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 he doesn't have to take the bus. I'll pick him up, I'll drop him
You
off.
mean,
She's like,
oh,
no,
take the bus alone.
yeah, so he'll go to school, they'll teach him the route, and then he'll do it on his own. And at that point, that was hard for me because I've always done everything for them. And I remember being in her office with Acacia, and I tried to hold it back when she's like, we got to let him be independent. He's got to learn these things. And even though he's at home, he knows how to get up, brush his teeth, dress himself, get breakfast from like cereal or whatever. I literally went in full breakdown mode. I couldn't
Oh,
hold back
wow.
the tears because at this point, I'm like, it really hit me that I didn't, as much as I thought I have done, now I've got to let him go to the world. Because she's like, well, what happens if you're not around and your mom's not around and George and Casey, how's he going to go get his medication? How's he going to do this? How's he going to do that? We have to teach him these things. So he has to now learn how to take the bus. And I totally lost it. That was hard for me to do. Up to this day, I haven't even said it to George because I don't know how he's going to handle that.
Wow. Now, have you and George had any counseling? Um, have you any support groups, anything like that?
Um,
With other people with autistic children, or you pretty much been just with the support that you're getting from the school and your doctors, it's been manageable and
so
family.
for so for me, because and I'll jump in this. I know you weren't going to talk about it just yet, but I'll jump ahead and so I actually run a non for profit. Being a stay at home mom, I started to figure out at one point Junior. It started with Junior, where Junior started putting on a lot of weight. And I needed something for the boys to do because when it comes to soccer and basketball, everything is so competitive. So I actually, back in 2011, started a non for profit called Physical Lifestyle for Autistic Youth. And what it is, it's a recreation program that teaches kids that are on the spectrum the basic skills of soccer and basketball so that they, when they're at school or at the park or something, and they see a basketball, they know what to do with it. We're not teaching them to join the NBA. We're just teaching them to have fun and to communicate, and it's outside of their parents. So it's dealing with other people other than their parents. So the parents don't interact. We have staff that teach them. We have one-on-one support. And for me, a lot of my support comes from that as well, because
Yes.
our coordinator is somebody who works with kids that are autistic. And over the years, I've learned a lot more and where to find information and support and funding and all that stuff because now I have to do my research for my non-for-profit. And our goal as a non-for-profit for play is that no kid is left behind. We don't say no to anybody because whether they're verbal or non-verbal, as long as they're not physically they have a behavioral problem where they're hitting or hurting themselves and you
Yeah.
can run and walk and whatever, we take you and we run
Yeah.
the program, which has been good over the years to help with the weight and stuff like that. Plus it also gives parents that 1 hour break that if a parent don't have the support like I do with my family, there's a lot of parents who don't have that support. So when we run that program once a week, it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, I want to go pick up my groceries. I can go across the street and get my groceries. I can go have a coffee. I can just take
Right.
that hour just for myself. So a lot
Wow.
of information I share with my parents and just research and stuff like that. So we've never really had to go to counseling.
Because you've actually developed your own network and have an outlet, and at the same time you're helping other people. That's
Yes.
really good. That
Yeah.
is amazing. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it. That's a great idea. And I'm sure I'll have that information on the website for
Yes.
people to be able to, just learn some information about, your non for profit and also to contribute if they'd like to. That
Yes, for
is really
sure.
good. That's what you're talking about, taking a negative and making it a positive.
Exactly. And I mean, I look back and I say, like, and I'm not a parent first and foremost. And one of the
Hmm.
things too that I've learned with having kids that are on the spectrum is that you have to be their voice, because they can't always communicate what they want to do, especially when it comes to funding in the school system. And there's a lot of times I had to stand up and say, hey, I know my rights and this is my right. So you're not going to roll over and just kind of push my kid to the side. And I think when you do research and you learn and 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 you're vocal about it, it makes you stronger. Because I'm not going to lie, having my boys on the spectrum, I had to do, I mean, I kind of deal with the home life situation where George goes out, works, and his job actually makes him travel a lot. So it was more like, okay, you know what, Bo's gonna deal with this. We had the understanding of what my role was and what his role was. And
Yes,
to me, that has made me a more stronger person overall of who I
right.
was before I had the boys and finding out they were autistic to who I am now.
It's made you a better person. You've
It's
had
made me a
to
better.
jump to the plate and deal with the cards that you were given.
Yes.
And not everyone is strong and capable, and I mean, we all are dealt with different hands, different
Mm-hmm.
cards, and it's all about just beating the odds and pushing for your children and not
Yes.
saying, not putting limitations on them. You accept the diagnosis, and then you move forward and you make them the best that they can be for what they've been dealt with. And
Right. And
just with saying that, I was thinking, just to digress a little bit, about there's lots of different opinions about what the causes of autism is.
mm-hmm.
Um, you know, there's some people believe, there is some genetic component. Then they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, I guess I want to get really just cut to chase, the vaccination fallacy. I want to get
Mm-hmm.
that out. What, you're in another country, you're in, Canada, I'm in the United States. What are they saying in Canada when it has to do with vaccinations and autism?
So my experience personally, so when Junior was diagnosed, we thought that at first maybe it was the vaccinations, because he had gotten all his needles on time. With
Right.
Josiah, I delayed all his needles until the actual point when he started daycare and I had to get him his needles. I personally don't believe the vaccination has anything to do with it. Um, Personally, I mean, my boys have done some research. I haven't done a lot of research, like going to college universities that tend to do some research on them. But I personally do believe that it has something to do with the genetics and the makeup
Yeah.
of their the chemicals in their brain and their bodies and everything and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We just haven't, I don't think scientists have figured that part out just yet. And again, like I said, because there's so many factors that could have caused it, we don't
Yes, that
know.
could contribute it. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
a lot of people say, like I hear a lot of people say, and I kind of see it a little bit, where they say, oh, kids with autism were supposed to be super super smart, but then something went wrong in the brain. Well, what really went wrong? Like, we don't know. So there's so many
Exactly.
theories out there, and it's hard. Like, I wish one day we'll be able to find a cure for it, but
Yes.
who
Or
knows?
even to prevent. So
Yeah,
in the United
exactly.
States here, what the CDC, Center of Disease Control, I mean, most scientists, it says, agree that
Hmm.
one of the risk factors that make a person more likely to develop autism, um, that children who have siblings with um, autism are at a higher risk. That
Hmm.
that fell through for you, and they also agree that, well, the first part that I said, that was a little confusing. It says that and I'm reading directly from what the CDC says, that most scientists agree that genes are one of the risk factors that make a person more likely to develop autism.
Mhm.
Children who have a sibling with autism are at a higher risk for having it. And then they're saying that also people who have certain genetic or chromosomal conditions such as Fragile X syndrome or
Mhm.
tuberous sclerosis, those people are more likely. And that the two medications, I just want to make sure that we get this clear that during pregnancy, there's two prescription medications that they're saying um, puts you at a higher risk for autism, and that's valpuric acid, that's an anti seizure medicine, and thalidomide, that's a cancer treatment. So valpuric acid and thalidomide, and that's Thalidomide. And lastly, they're saying that there's some evidence that during the critical period of development of a child being developed in the womb, and
Mhm.
even right before, immediately after birth, like things can happen if a mother
Mhm.
is exposed to, certain things, it can happen, but we really don't know. And I just wanted to be clear. I mean, I'm not, we're not here to tell people what to do, but there's no scientific proof that
Mhm.
vaccinations contribute to the diagnosis of um, autism.
And to go back to touching on what you said about the first medication, it's so weird that you said that because I remember after having Junior, because I was always a person who always get really bad migraines. And I remember after I had the kids and I had my tube side, I said, I remember my gyno would always say, sometimes taking the birth controls can trigger off migraines in people more often than normal. And I
Right.
remember 9 days after having Junior, I remember Casey, I was in dance and I had to, as a mom, you got to adjust because you have a baby, you still got to do other things. And I
Mhm.
remember having a really bad migraine. And I remember I had this migraine before when, like a couple years before I had Junior, and I had went to the hospital, and I can't remember the name of the medication, but I remember the doctor had given me A and B. And then when I had the migraine with Junior, and Junior was only 9 days, and I remember my mom had gone to work the morning. She didn't even know I had left the house at 4 o'clock. And my husband, I said to George, I've pumped enough milk. I'm going to go to the hospital because I need an IV to get rid of this headache. It's just too bad. I remember going in, and so I remember when I went in, it was the same doctor. And so this time he gave me A. And then I remember saying to him, I said to the nurse, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to change my pad. So before I went to the bathroom, when I had gotten the first medication, my headache was still there. And I said, it's still there. And I remember the nurse said to the doctor, which was the same doctor, she was here in 99. That was when it was. And you gave her A and B, but this time you only gave her A and she still has a headache. So then they'd come back now and they gave me A and B. Got
Right.
up, went to the bathroom. All I remember the nurse said, ring the bell when you're ready to come back. Rung the bell. I don't remember anything from there. I blocked out, didn't
Mm.
wake up till 4 o'clock the next morning. They said I had two seizures. This was
Wow.
before I had Junior. And to me, I think what had happened was my body either reacted to the medication they gave me and my body shut down because remember, I just had a baby a week ago. I had epidural. They said my potassium was low, so they were giving me medication. They kept me for a couple of days in that hospital after I had the seizure. I was right in front of the nurses station. I was top priority. Nobody up to this day told me what caused that seizure.
Yeah.
So
Some
those are things that makes you wonder.
Yeah. And it could have been just multiple factors. I mean, yes, sometimes you can down to the detail do EEGs and configure
Mm-hmm.
if a person is having seizures on a regular basis. But a person can be have electrolytes imbalance can cause
Mm-hmm.
seizures.
Oh,
And
okay.
electrolytes are like potassium, calcium, sodium, too high, too low, and that could do dehydration, loss of
Hmm.
fluids, stress, um,
I know.
so and medications.
Yeah.
Medications that don't agree with you. So we don't know what happened, but I just thought it was important to really, talk about some of the genetic, not genetic, but some of the causes of
Right.
autism. And I'll be sure to put information out to this article from the CDC about that. We're going to be
Hmm.
sure to also put information about your nonprofit. And anything else you want to share?
No, I think just basically when you have a child on the spectrum, for us, we don't treat them any different. We just,
Yeah.
I know you have to be patient. Sometimes it's hard. There's days when I tell my kids, I'm like, I'm gonna run away. And they're like, no, mom, you have to take me with you. Even my daughter says, you can't run away and leave me. But
Exactly.
I honestly, I wouldn't change my kids. I love them for who they are. And I
Yeah.
think they have also shaped my character and who I am as much as I have them.
Right. Absolutely. You really know they've allowed you to become a better person.
Yes, for
That's how
sure,
I
for
look
sure.
at it. And which, challenges do that to us. They either make you or break you, and you've chosen the make you. Um,
Yes.
oh, another fun fact that I just want to put out there, you have to share with our audience the fact that you are also a fabulous baker. Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
thank you.
Your cake stuff out there. Beautiful,
Thank you.
beautiful.
It's,
Oh my
being
goodness.
home, it's so weird because I went to school for fashion and now all I do is cakes. It's a way of just kind of keeping me calm and relaxed. And it's just something I used to just go take the class at Michael's when I was home and the boys were in school. It was just something for me to do on my spare time. And it has just grown, I've grown a passion for it. So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, you do beautiful work. I saw
Thank
your
you.
cake, the white cake with the pink ribbon.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that pink rose on top of that cake
It's
was
beautiful.
amazing.
Thank
I
you.
Listen, if I'm having some big birthday, you're gonna have to come
Oh,
all
for
the way to the
sure.
United
We'll
States,
definitely be there.
okay? And
Yes, for
make the
sure.
cake. All right. I think this was wonderful. I really enjoyed talking with you
Thank you.
and sharing. I think there's people out there that will benefit from this conversation. And you're one family with two autistic children
Hmm.
and a regular, graduate from college, and you guys are
Yeah.
doing it and you're
Thank
making it.
you.
And I can't wait for an update to see what wonderful things the boys are doing.
And definitely, if anybody wants to reach out to me that lives in the Peel region, Toronto region, I'm always here to like share information and give them the support that they need and just to direct them in the right direction where they can help. Definitely love being on your program and love to share and talk about
All
autism.
right. Sounds great. All right.
Thank
We'll have
you.
all the information for your nonprofit. And thanks again. And I'll
All
call you
right.
soon.
All
All
right. Thank you. Take
right.
care. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for joining the Health Flow podcast. I hope you found this session informative. Join me weekly as I share healthcare experiences that can impact your life. Follow me on Instagram at the Health Flow, that's FLO podcast. You can also find me on Facebook, the Health Flow podcast. If you have questions or topics of interest, you can email me at thehealthflowpodcast@gmail.com. That's the health and flow is FLO podcast at gmail.com. Until next time, have healthy thoughts and do healthy things.